Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here today to view Quantum Leap Season 1, Episodes 3 and 4. So, 4 is a boxing episode. And so, immediately, I've already gone on and watched what is to be the current product Quantum Leap show. And I'm also watching the original. I'm just seeing, is there something similar? But I do realize that we have to go on and do some homages from this show, or also there's so many ways to just write a certain kind of episode. And when really looking at it, it's best to open an episode with a person getting caught off guard. So, that would be the best way to start a episode if you're going to go on and do a boxing episode. And they tried to do it a tweakingly bit different, but still it's similar. But anyways, because of course there are two different kind of knockout scenes in episode 4, and so they kind of combined the two in the current product Quantum Leap. But so anyways, speaking of the current product Quantum Leap, I had completely forgotten that Addison had gotten a new hand link in Quantum Leap Season 1, Episode 6. And that completely had me forgot about that. But it was also good that they actually wrote that into the show, that she got a new hand link that looks more cosmetically better looking. So, yeah, it was good that they went on and just did that. So, now going on into the original Quantum Leap show. So, we have episode 3 that is, of course, called Star-Crossed, that has taken place in 1989. So, come to find out, Sam is leaped into a guy named Dr. Gerald Bryant. Come to find out, this guy is to be an English lit teacher. And immediately the funny thing about this is Sam has no degree, no nothing, no way of how to go on and figure out how he can legitimately be an English teacher. So they basically have an entire episode where they kind of just give up on that. And the funny thing of it is that Sam is not legitimately going into a classroom teaching students. This thing really doesn't really go in that direction. But it seems that throughout episode 3, somebody's going on and learning something from Sam. Even though he's not really in a classroom teaching people, still, people are going to learn. So, with that said, we then go on into episode 4, which is The Right Hand of God, which of course takes place in 1974. So, we go on to have Sam, who leaps into a character called Clarence Kid Cody. And so, it seems we find Sam, who leaps into a middle of a fight that he is not prepared for. And so we go on to have Sam, who is starting to realize that there is a number of things possibly riding on Sam winning his next fight before we're even finished with this first one. So that starts out in this show. So, because come to find out, we have Sister Angela, who is in desperate need of the money of which that Sam's character is going to donate to her. And that, of course, will go on to have them build a brand new church that, of course, Sister Angela is to call her castle, because she has this whole backstory that is to tie into this whole castle term. So, the interesting thing is that, this 4th episode is to go on and have, the most, unique character, and kind of really, focus on that, which of course is a nun that we didn't get in prior episodes, or probably won't get in the next leap, which is to deal with Sam going on and leaping into a veterinarian, it seems, which will probably be a pretty easy episode for Sam, possibly, because of course Sam had at one point where he of course was at a farm anyway, so it'll be familiar territory for him, possibly. So with that said, I think it's about that time to just go into spoilers about this episode. And I know that was to be very vague of a teeing up, but when really looking at it, if I am to go further into spoilers about this one, I feel like I'm going to have me just repeating myself when we get into the actual talking about this episode. So with that said, I think it's about that time to just go into that double 5 time territory, because it's about that time, yet again, to of course go into what is of course spoiler time. It's about that time I get into spoil this episode. So thank you anybody who has gone on and is to possibly listen to me talk about this Quantum Leap episode, as well as also going on to watch Quantum Leap 2022. If people are watching both, if people are just watching one, I thank you regardless. So with that said, let's go on into Star-Crossed. So we go on and have Sam, who has leaped into Dr. Bryant, and all of a sudden he is in this classroom, and he's immediately trying to figure out what year it is. He's immediately trying to figure out who he is, so on and so forth. So Sam, of course, is caught off guard in the middle of this lecture about Garfield's obsession, whatever that means. It feels like the books or whatever that they mention as far as a reference in this episode is gibberish. I don't think legitimately any of these books actually exist of what they mentioned in this episode, because I think I went on to Google any of them, and I don't think any of them actually existed, or maybe I wasn't looking at them correctly. But anything that they were to mention about evil Adams and Garfield's obsession, I was like, what? Are these legitimate books? Because I don't remember them at all being in existence. It doesn't sound familiar, even though this is a college class. So we have Sam, who is having all these students just kind of waiting on this doctor's word of well, hey, what did you feel about Garfield's obsession? And we just have, because the teacher's not talking, all of a sudden all the students are starting to talk, and the person who was to write this story must have been just really wanting to write this story because she, of course, wasn't with another person, and so maybe she had wrote this all as a way to get some sort of release, if you know what I mean, from her brain mentally. And so all these girls are kind of cackling because it's okay, this girl wrote this story to get off. So Sam ends up going on and kind of relieving the class, and so we have Sam that kind of ends up walking after class and ends up bumping into her student that luckily has her name written in big, massive letters on this notebook for Sam to realize that this is, of course, Jamie Lee. So we go on to have Sam and Jamie Lee talking, and so Jamie Lee is talking about how she's going to go to Sam's place, and Sam is wait a minute, you're a teacher and I'm a student. And Jamie Lee keeps going on and quoting all of these poetic words and so on and so forth. And also, Jamie Lee is to state to Sam, it's like, well, that's not what you said last night. And so we have Sam who goes on while he's walking and notices that Donna is making it into her workplace, which is to be this kind of it looks like some like restaurant, but it's a part of the school. So we have Sam that realizes that Donna was to be here and at this school. So Sam seems to be immediately fixed on Donna and doesn't really care much about Jamie Lee. So both Sam and Jamie Lee are to go uh, together into Sam's place, and so Jamie Lee goes on to start making them tea and whatever, and so Jamie Lee is going on and on about how like her father won't accept the love between them, and we of course have Al who ends up coming in and is like, "Hey, like, how are things going?" So, come to find out, we have just Al and Sam talking about Romeo and Juliet, and Jamie ends up picking up on that, and she's like, "Oh yeah, like their obvious like pact that Romeo and Julio made together to end both of their lives." And Sam is just like, "Oh no 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 no, like we're not gonna do anything like that, like no." And so we have Sam and we have Jamie Lee. So like Sam is to hear about this possible guy named Oscar who seems to be interested in pinning Jamie Lee. And so Sam is just like, well, why don't you just go after this guy? Like, he's obviously your age. And Jamie Lee's like, no, like, I can't fall in love with that kind of brute and blah, blah, blah. So we have Sam kind of leave off with, of course, uh, or we have Jamie Lee leave at some point, and so Sam is talking to Al and is stating it's like, well, hey, like I know exactly what I'm here to do to leave, and Al is just like, well, and so Sam is to immediately figure out that Donna is a past love of his, and so what Sam needs to go on and do is figure out a way to try and get Dawn to get to a point where she'll be able to marry somebody, because Sam was left at the altar, was left at the church, because of course he had gone on and tried to marry Donna, and Donna had not showed up. So she was a runaway bride, it seems, and she's always going to be that. And so Sam is trying to figure out the root of that problem, and it could all stem from Donna's father, who had gone on to leave Donna at some point. So, but we get to that in a further part of this episode. So, Sam ends up going on to get to this restaurant where or this, I want to say restaurant, but I don't think that's the perfect word here. This lunchroom of sorts. So we have Samuel that is going on and finding out that there is some like this kind of unusual light that is to all of a sudden make Al look like a ghost. Man, like this show really likes to go on and do its like special effects for that time, and I really do appreciate it. Like I don't go on and mock it or whatever. Like, I think a lot of people can go on and complain about like, well, hey, you can clearly see this, you can clearly state that, or you can, blah, blah, blah. But like to me, like I think that everything that they do for this show is fine. Even though I can go on and not like this third episode as much as I was go on and like the fourth one, because there was some unique things in the fourth one. Like, I would say that episode 3 is an okay episode, um, but that's probably actually being nice. Um, it's a weak okay, but it's still an okay episode. Uh, because like a lot of people complain, it's like, oh, you just don't like the romance of it. No, I do like the romance of it. It's just like the person that Sam leaps into, like, what good is that? What a waste that leap was. Because it has nothing to do with the leaping character. It just has Sam go into business for himself, and that is the thing that I think bugged me the most about this episode. But then the fourth episode is to be like a sports episode, and so that's easily to be like fun and good for me. Even though you can go on and feel like it's kind of like any normal boxing uh, episode that has ever been done, but still. Anyways, so Sam goes into this diner or this place and is to order this meal, and Donna immediately knows what exactly this guy is to want to order, and Sam, of course, goes on and is like, hey, she remembered my order. She remembered what I like. So we go on and have Sam consistently still talking to Al, and Al, of course, is not wanting whatsoever to try and go on and help out Sam, because Al is telling Sam that there is a rule that Sam had put together himself, that no one can go on and change the past to have it benefit the leaper. Meaning, which is kind of funny because we're going to have a whole like episode that is to kind of break that rule anyways, because Sam has to go on and leap into himself at some point as a younger self and win a basketball game. How does that not go on and benefit the leaper greatly in his own life? But so Sam is to go on to have this rule about like no leap can like can give him personal gain. And so Sam is to state, well, who came up with that rule? And Al is to state, like, well, you did, Sam. And so Sam is like, well, what is the penalty to this rule? And Al's like, death. So Sam is to go on and be like, yeah, sure, yeah, okay. So Sam ends up talking to Al about how this could really work out and how Sam could help Donna. And so we all of a sudden have Oscar, the wrestling jock, who comes in to grab Sam here. And so we, of course, have Sam, who is not to get in a brawl with this guy, but instead, Sam is to try to convince Oscar that it's like, well, hey, like, use your words to talk to her. Like, go on and try to sound romantic. Like, tell her everything that she wants to hear. Like, because obviously, like, you're not doing that. So go on and try to, like, tell her how she smells. Tell her how, like, beautiful she looks. Like, tell her something. Like, feed her poetry. And we have Oscar's like, ugh, like, I don't know if I can do that. And so the guy really is to state that anytime he talks with Jamie Lee, the only thing that he can really get out is that he ends up getting like aroused by Jamie Lee, or he ends up getting turned on by her. And Sam is like, well, that's not gonna work. That's obviously not gonna work. the more that you go on and try that same kind of thing, the more it's not going to work. As if I'm talking as if I'm having a high horse here. I'm just stating what Sam technically states here. And also, if anybody has never gone on and seen Spider-Man 2, feed your poetry. I am not a poetic person, and whenever I am to go on and find a person who is to assume that, it's nowhere close. I'm probably a man who could figure out a way of words, but there is no way in heck that I could probably be fairly poetic in any sort of any manner. But so, anyways, we go on to have Oscar, who's like, okay, I'll try that. All right, the stereotypical jock. It's kind of funny because Sam ends up confusing Oscar for being a football star, and he's like, "Hey, I'm a wrestler," and Sam was like, "Oh yeah, you're a wrestler." Oh, okay. Like, I was kind of wondering in that scene if there was some ad libbing going on, that maybe like Sam on purpose was to confuse him with football and wrestling, or maybe that was just to give Oscar a little bit more lines here. I'm not sure. But I'm kind of curious about that, just that scene there, if it was written that way. But so we have Sam that is to go on and go home, and come to find out Jamie Lee surprises him with this outfit that it seems that they are trying to role play as medieval times people, like the people from Camelot. And so we come to find out that I guess Bryant is really into role play, and when Al leaps in, or Al kind of comes in, he all of a sudden is to realize that this guy has like a whole thing, like a whole room or a whole like setup, like full of all this role play stuff. And Al's like, "Hey Sam, come in here, like come on, like look at all this stuff." And so Sam is just like, So we, of course, go on and have Sam, who figures out a way to try and get rid of Jamie Lee, talking about the Moon Knight among Camelot and so on and so forth, to try to figure out some way to just get rid of her, and so it works. So we also had, I think, the one moment in episode 4 that I want to get out of the way because I'm sure I'm going to forget it now. There's this one funny joke that Al had where he ends up getting upset with Sam, and Sam is giving him like puppy dog eyes, and Al ends up stating, it's like, well, hey, like, don't give me those puppy dog eyes, or I'm never gonna scratch behind your ears again. I thought that was a funny dog joke. And like, I think if ever there's ever a time where it's the puppy dog eyes thing, like, you can always go on with that joke as a counter to it, and it will always work. So, but anyways, I just had to state that joke before, of course, I would lose it with the memory of which that I have. But so we have Sam that goes on and meets with Donna at school, and he is to go on and figure out her equation and solve it for her. And Donna's like, oh, like yeah, I was just on the cusp of figuring that out. And we have Sam that goes on and explains like what she missed out on. And so Sam is also talking about Bunsen burners and science classes, and that he is basically taken out of the one thing that is to be his specialty to then be forced into English Lit that he, of course, doesn't at all want to go on and try to do at any point of this episode, obviously. So we have Sam that goes on to seemingly spend the day with Donna and is almost in a roundabout way talking to her about Quantum Leap, and like Sam is going on and explaining via this tie around his waist that he used to have, like how Al explained to Sam how Quantum Leap works. We of course have uh, Sam who is talking about his own kind of approach to him talking about Quantum Leap. And so we have Donna who is to understand all the things that Sam is explaining. And so Sam really is to figure out that the key to Donna and getting Donna to marry Sam in the future, Sam Beckett himself, is all tied to, of course, Sam's father. So we then go on and have Al appear yet again, and it seems that Al is to be more tight-lipped than usual, because normally Al would go on and talk about what girl he had banged on what day, and or in the fourth episode we have Al who seems to be not sleeping, and I'm like, you know what, like, I like these kind of like episodes where we not only have to be dealing with whatever Sam is going through, but then also like Al is dealing with something also. And I'm like, they should go on and write that for like the newer Quantum Leap things, where it seems that also we have not only Song who's dealing with something, but I think Addison should have like something going on also, because they tried to do that a little bit, but like I think they should do that like more, to where it seems like, in all honesty, the Addison character doesn't really have she's very plain. Like, she doesn't really have much of a real personality, because she's very like military, and so like she doesn't really have much of a personality yet. They should go on and give her like more of a personality, because it seems like she's having fun in season 1 episode 6, but they need to give her more, not give her a backstory or something like that. They need to like have her like definitely be like, I've seen some episodes where she is fun, but like there's got to be more. So that'll be one thing for the current product of Quantum Leap. So anyways, we have Al that is having this seemingly like unusual like cloth that he has tied around his waist, and the waist of course is to have all these hieroglyphs, and we are to go on and have Sam being more tight, or Al being more tight-lipped, because it seems that he is not alone in his imaging chamber, that for any time he is to go on and state something that he should not, he's going to get pulled away, which he does. The interesting thing also about this is, like, I honestly thought the imaging chamber was to be kind of like Cerebro, where if you go on and if you have the person who is not only wearing the helmet, like if you have another person in there and that other person moves too much, like that should kill the one person or all the people that are in the imaging chamber. And so that's what I kind of thought that this was. But if they can go on and just rip away Al from the imaging chamber, why can't they go on and do the same thing to Sam? Would that just kill him then? Because Al is a less than character? That just seems unusual. If they can kind of pull Al away, why can't they pull Sam away? It doesn't make sense logically, but either way, it is what it is. So Al goes on to give Sam these hieroglyph clues. So it seems Sam is to read off these hieroglyphs, and one of the symbols ends up leading him to realize that one of the things is to be of a capital. And so Sam is like, okay, like, what does the capital mean? Like, Memphis? And Al's like, no. And Sam is like, well, like, what could the capital mean? So Sam is to think, like, well, is it the capital of the United States? Which could be, like, Washington, D.C.? And Al's like, bingo, bango. So we are to go on and have the people next to Al, and Al is trying to tell him, it's like, well, hey, that's ludicrous, that's ridiculous, I don't know what you're talking about. And Sam's like, what are you talking about, Al? And Al ends up stating that it's like, yeah, it seems that these guys are thinking that I'm helping you or giving you clues on something, and I'm not doing anything of that. Am I right, Sam? So we have Sam figuring it out of where he should go next, but he doesn't know what the name of Donna's father is. So when the guys start to realize that Al is helping Sam out, they then pull him away, and you just start to see Al, who has his arms out, and he's being dragged away further and further off. And so we have Al that ends up stating, of course, Colonel Wojciechowicz. Wojciechowicz? Sure, I said that right? The Colonel. They end up. We quickly have it where Al is to state this guy's name, so Sam could be like, aha. So Sam goes onto the operator to try to figure out this guy's name, and where he can call him from. So Sam goes on and calls the Colonel, and is to state that Sam needs to somehow be with the Colonel with Donna, so they can kind of go on and kind of talk to one another before the Colonel is to leave for active duty. So, and I said duty. So we go on and we have the Colonel that's like, well, hey, I'm shipping out, and I don't think I can go on and open up that wound with Donna, like, just yet. And Sam is like, well, can't you reconsider? Because what if you go on and you go into active duty and you don't come back? And so the Colonel is just like, well, I'm sorry, but click. So Sam talks to Donna and is to justify that Sam is going to go on and take a trip, and he wants Donna to come with her. And Donna's like, well, like, I think we're going to need, like, a chaperone. Like, because Donna's very uncomfortable with this guy. Like, she doesn't trust him quite yet. And that makes all of the sense in the world, in all honesty. Because of their age ranges and stuff like that. Like, I was like, wow, this is actually smart writing, for once. So, not saying that this show doesn't do that. I'm just stating that this is just, like, a smart thing compared to, like, so many other shows that would have us, like, have these gaps of, like, logic where it's like, why does this girl just trust this guy so easily? That would be most of, like, the current product shows of anything that would just be like, wait a minute, like, aren't they gonna question that? Aren't they gonna go on and just be like, wait a minute, like, I don't think I can just really just give into this. But so we have Sam going back to his place, and he ends up getting a ding-dong on the doorbell, and Sam ends up opening the door to get punched in the face, and Sam's nose is now bleeding. We have Oscar, who has come back, and he, of course, is very upset with Sam because none of the stuff that, of course, Sam told him worked. And so Sam is kind of working through, it's like, okay, what did you tell her? And this and that. So we go on to find out that Oscar, again, everything that he is stating to Jamie Lee is, again, not working. So we go on and we have Sam, who's just like, well, hey, like, I don't give a crap about what's going on in your life, Oscar. Like, instead, like, you know what? I'm just gonna freaking, like, ask you, hey, man, do you have a car? Like, are you busy? And Oscar's like, well, yeah, I have a car. Yeah, I can go. And so Sam's like, great, we're gonna go to Washington, D.C., and all four of us are going to go together, all four of these people. You, me, Jamie Lee, Donna, we're all going. And Oscar's like, well, okay then. And so they all go on to this road trip to Washington, D.C. And so come to find out that leads both Jamie Lee and Oscar, who are now in this vehicle alone together. But before we get there, we have, while Sam and Donna are driving, we have them spot deer, which they kind of make this kind of whole thing about deer. And we have Oscar, who is to pretend like he's shooting with this rifle, this deer. And Jamie Lee goes on and is like, well, hey, that was Bambi. Like, how dare you pretend to shoot a defenseless animal? And then we have Sam and we have Donna that justify that, well, like, when thinking about Romeo had gotten deer for his love, and oh yeah, like, so and so other, like, poetic people had gone on and gotten deer in the past. And so Sam tries to go on and state, it's like, well, yeah, like, Oscar is just trying to be, like, poetic in a way of, like, having deer as a way to, like, show how much he loves his woman. And so Jamie Lee turns to Oscar and is like, well, is that true, Oscar? And Oscar's like, yeah, sure. We also had the one moment where Sam was with Donna, and it was right after he solved that that puzzle on that board. He ends up talking about some weird, unusual story that, of course, is to be called Evil Adam, La Mantra, whatever that meant. I immediately knew it was Evil Adam, but I didn't know what the other thing was. Or Atom? Not Atom. Anyways, so I had to kind of slip that in there somewhere. But so Sam and Donna go off to this military base, which in this case is to be Watergate, and they realize the historical connection by the end of this episode. So we have both Jamie Lee and we have both Oscar, who are to be in this car together, and they make out at one point, as Oscar is to finally state that Jamie Lee is beautiful, and that's all Jamie Lee really needed to get her motor running, so to speak. Getting on the highway. So we have Sam and we have Donna, and we have them trying to go into this military base, but there is no way to justifyingly enough prove that Donna is to be this colonel's daughter because she doesn't have the same last name. And so, come to find out, this colonel has a no disturbed thing upon his phone, and so Sam is like, well, can't you just call him? Like, come on. Like, can't you just figure out a way to just, like, have us go up there anyways? And the guy's like, no, I'm sorry. So, Sam and Donna just decide that they're going to sneak around and try to get into this place anyways to then make their way to get Donna to meet up with her father regardless. Going and having this door open, and both Donna and the Colonel are in arms because, of course, the Colonel is a state like it shouldn't have been 10 years since we were to have seen one another last. And so the Colonel is to be very appreciative of what Sam had gone on and done. So Sam goes on and is to like start walking off, and I realize I just have a water bottle in the back here. Let me pause here for a second. And we're back. So we have Sam who is walking off feeling accomplished, that he's like, okay, I probably did everything that I could possibly do to leap. And so, of course, Al doesn't go on and state to Sam that Sam married this girl, but Alice also mentioned that maybe what Sam put in motion is maybe the very next guy that Donna is going to be with. She's going to marry him instead of Sam. And so Sam is like, well, that's just the risk I'm going to have to take. But we also had the moment where Sam was going on and was with Donna at that little restaurant. And while Donna was asking, like, what do you have? Like, what are you going to order? Sam ends up going on and stating that, like, well, hey, like, don't kind of really look in my face. Just kind of look me in the eyes and see if there's anything that looks familiar. You probably will. And so Donna goes on and looks into this guy's eyes and is just like, this is some kind of play. This is some kind of plea, something. But yeah, but this girl isn't going to go on and just see all of a sudden, like, Sam, Sam, you've disappeared to me. Because, of course, this woman is not a young girl or is to not be a dog. So it isn't going to work that way. And I'm just kind of waiting for the whole, like, kid thing to work to where they see Al, but then they don't see who Sam really is. And I just realized that now. Like, I guess a dog could probably tell the difference, but maybe not a kid. Anyways, but a kid can see Al, though. Anyways, that's the difference. So Sam is to go on and leap. And so who he ends up leaping into is to, of course, be Clarence Kid Cody. And immediately when we start on this leap, we have him being in a boxing match. So we have, of course, now Sam, like, fighting for his life, literally, because, like, he, like, isn't all that skilled at being a boxer. And so Sam is just kind of going on and kind of just breaking and just kind of having his kind of like hands to where he can go on and just take these hits. And then Sam ends up getting one lucky but very muscular punch in and knocks this guy out. Very muscular. Sam, like, has, like, hams for hands, if you know what I mean. So, wait a minute, like, why is it that you're just saying how, like, good Sam is, but you didn't say anything about Song, who is to knock some people out? Maybe I'll do so in the following episodes. It was a whole joke I was going with there. But then I had to go on and explain the joke, and then it didn't work out. So, with that said, Sam and his muscular ham hands just popped a freaking guy and took him down. So, we go on to have Sam, who is to win this match after it almost seems that he was going to get counted out himself, we of course have Gomez, who is to be his coach, and is like, "Yeah, come on, get up." So Sam, after this fight, is to go on and like have the coaches kind of ask of like, well, like maybe he didn't exactly really win this fight. Maybe it looked a little bit too good, and maybe it was actually a rigged match or a rigged fight. So we have Sam who is to go on and try to get undressed, and immediately that's when these nuns walk in and they're like, "Whoa!" And Sam is just like, "Well, hey, it's just padding, ladies. It's just my nut cup." So Sam goes on and is to throw this towel on, and so these nuns are going on and talking about the contract uh, with this boxer and how they really just kind of own him now. And so maybe these nuns are to go on and be like a sponsorship deal or something along those lines. I'm not quite sure. But so we have Kid Cody that is talking about kind of like what uh, kind of obligation these people are to have. We have Sam who is mentioning about like what about my coaches, and they're like, well, like we'll figure something out because Gomez is to mention to Sam how this is basically his last match with Kid Cody, because he does not want to go on and deal with a boxer that is throwing matches all the time. Instead, Gomez wants to go on and train legit boxers, and I don't know how many times we would go on and have every boxing movie that we've ever seen who is to like, well, hey, like if you're gonna go on and throw something, like I'm not gonna like be with you, but if you're gonna want to legitimately train, then take this seriously. So yeah, so we have Kid Cody that goes on to talk to these nuns, and so that ends up having, of course, uh, Sam, who is to go on and find out who he is and what he's here to do. So, and I'm kind of having a hard time figuring out a perfect way to transition here and what are the scenes. I know there's certain events, but heaven forbid I can connect them to what happens next here. So I think what happens next after this is we have Cody who makes his way back home to then be talking to his wife Dixie, who is to be this stripper, this pole dancer, this woman who is to go on and take her clothes off for money. And when looking at it, there's nothing ever wrong with that kind of profession, especially if you make a lot of money anyways. Then by golly, why not go on and do that kind of thing? If that's what is to be a thing that you uh, want to go on and do, if that seems to be like a goal in life to go on and do that kind of job, then by golly, go on and do it. So we have Sam that is to go home to a woman named Dixie. And so we have Sam that is talking to Dixie and is talking about uh, the money that they're going to get from this fight. Dixie was to apologize that she couldn't make it to the fight. So we have Sam that is consistently going on and kissing this Dixie woman. I'm like, heck yeah, like this woman to me almost looked like Marilyn Monroe to me. Like it seems like the look of this character looked like very Marilyn Monroe-esque. Like I was kind of wondering if that's what they were like looking for, or they just found this and it's like, okay, we'll go with this woman. But so we have Dixie setting up to Sam about them wanting to go on and have Sam retire so they can go on to all of these kind of sprinkles and jelly filling donuts for the rest of their lives. And we also have Dixie who's mentioning that she's not going to be able to uh, strip forever, that at certain points, like her body is going to start to descend and in the end just start to age out and her not being able to be the most effective at what job she's going on to do. So we go on to have Sam, who goes on to talk to Sister Angela. And Sister Angela is going on and talking about where she's going to build this whole church. She's already got a plot laid out. So she's drawing exactly like where everything is going to go. And so after Sam has gone on to talk to Sister Angela, we then have Al appear. And so come to find out, Al is to tell Sam that that Kid Cody had lost the fight against the guy who ends up being Tiger Joe Jackson. And so come to find out, this is right around the time with the Muhammad Ali Joe Frazier fight. And so we have like a lot of boxing being tied into this episode. Not only where like Kid Cody is, but then also in like the professional bigger event and so on and so forth, to kind of really tie this time period. So we have Sam that is talking to Al, and Al is getting very exhausted, very tired, to the point of him just wanting to go into this imaging chamber and sleep. Instead of doing the sleep, Al wants to sleep. So we go on to have Sam that is asking Al, it's like, hey, am I boring you, Al? And Al's like, no, like much different. Like, Al is to go on and have a problem with his neighbor, because his neighbor is to be consistently late at night roaring this engine, consistently just working on this car, day in, day out, just consistently tweaking on this car. And then you would just think that Al would just be like, well, then I'm just going to frickin' move. Or Al is to go on and ask, or Sam is to go on and ask Al, it's like, well, why don't you just complain to somebody? And Al's like, well, I did, and they, like, Ziggy can't come up with something for me to do to fix this problem. So Al is going on and having this problem. And so at some point, Sam ends up coming up with a solution within this episode. And he mentions that if the guy's working at night, working on his car, then what you do is when the guy goes to sleep during the day, you then have Al, who is going to tape record the engine revving at night, so that way Al can then play it as loud as he can on this tape recorder to then have this guy not sleep. And so that ends up kind of canceling one another out. And Al's like, aha! I figured out a way out of it. So we go on to have Sam, who seems that his only problem is the fact that he is to now go on and need to go into this next boxing match, but he doesn't have a trainer. So Sam is to go on and have Al just state, it's like, well, hey, I can train you. Like, I can give you some things to use. And so I like the fact that, like, we consistently have it to where both Al and Sam are really working together here. Like, we do get that in the current product, Quantum Leap, and like they give Addison something to do, but like I like what they do in this show better, because it just really feels that the two of them are really working together. But maybe that'll go on and take some real time here, and the other show is just way too early to go on and really just like tear it down bit by little bit, because it's only, what, 6 episodes deep so far right now, and I'm going on realizing that I'm really looking at this, I'm timing exactly when this review comes out. But anyways, so instead, Sam is to realize that Al is just a hologram and there's not much that Al can really do. Sam needs to have a real person who is going to be able to punch him, and he can punch them back. So Sam ends up going back to Gomez, and it's to talk to him at this bar, and it's to state, it's like, hey man, like, I'm gonna go legit. So, like, you're with me, right? The only thing that kind of bogged you down about not training me is that I wasn't going legit. Well, now I'm going to. So Gomez is like, all right, man, like, that sounds great. But then all of a sudden, like, Jake Edwards, who is to be this kind of either fight promoter or this loan shark, I'm not quite sure which. It seems that this guy has other plans. Jake is immediately telling Sam here when he's going to go down. He's going to go down in the first round. And Sam's like, well, what if I don't go on and I don't do that? And Jake is like, well, like, you're going down in the first round. So Sam is looking at Gomez and he's like, no, I'm going to go legit. And so Gomez is like, well, okay, then I'll train you. So we now get into the training montages, and it seems that Sam is having problems doing chin-ups and doing all these exercises because, of course, if you were to go on and do, like, chin-ups and all this stuff, like, it really takes a long time to get them to go perfectly. I know when I, of course, was to, like, do chin-ups and whatever, like, it would take me a while to get a good number of reps that I would like, and so on and so forth. So all of this stuff just kind of takes time, and also, like, cardio, like, ugh. Cardio, no. Like, cardio to me would just be like walking home and walking to wherever I needed to go. Like, that is as much cardio as I would like to do. But, like, to just, like, walk to just, like, no, I want to get healthy. No. I'd be like, I'm going to just walk because, like, I want to go somewhere. Or I need to go somewhere. Not just some, like, oh, yeah, let's go, like, walking for fun. I'm like, no, I do that enough. I do that enough. So, anyways, we have Sam that is going on and doing all of this workout, and we then have him go on to be kind of jogging alongside Sister Angela. And so that's when we are to get Sister Angela's backstory. And man, how they built up both, like, Kid Cody and Sister Angela, like, being together, I'm like, this almost sounds like a freaking couple. Like, they're gonna get together at some point. But I get it. Like, Sister Angela is a nun. It doesn't make sense. But still, like, how they're really building up these two characters, I'm like, this seems like they're gonna kiss by the end of this. Maybe, like, Sister Angela is gonna realize that she is maybe gonna, like, give up being a nun for a while or something. But no, that's not how the story works out. And plus, it's also just like, no, that's like it comes so unusually close between these two characters, but it's like they both have the same goal, and so that's why they're so close, is because they have, like, the same way of thinking, that they both want their castles. And so we have Sister Angela that goes into this castle story where she had a family at one point that was great, and it felt like she had lived in a castle. And then all of a sudden one night she was woken up to a firefighter who had taken her from out of her house, and the rest of her whole family had all died. And so now Sister Angela just became a homeless woman, and she didn't know where to go, and she became a very hateful person to where she even hated God and everybody. And so one time it just took Sister Angela to have somebody go on and take her in, and for that to be a nun, and Sister Angela had gone on and found God at that moment, and so that's what kind of had her turn around and like devote herself to the church. So now all that Sister Angela needs is just another castle. And so Sam ends up saying like, well, hey, like I'm hoping I'm going to try to win this so that way you can get your castle. So but we also had Sam that is trying to go on and desperately tell everybody in the beginning of this is well, hey, don't bet on me. Like don't think that I'm going to win this. Are you kidding? Like, and that's kind of interesting. Like we have like Sam who immediately is very like unoptimistic about his chances just because he immediately thinks that he is not skilled enough to accomplish this. But we just have Sam who feels to me to be very much a coward through a lot of this, and I'm kind of wondering why that is. Like I'm trying to figure out like why is it that he has gone on to uh like be this very unconfident person. And so hopefully we figure out a way for Sam to get that confidence in himself that whatever he's going to go on and need to do, like he's sure about it. But we also have Song in the current product that does that same kind of thing, where he doesn't have much confidence in himself either, but it seems that he is passionate enough that he's just to go on and say, like, well, hey, I need to do this. Like, this is obviously what the goal is. So, like, we have to get this accomplished. Where Sam is, or Sam is reluctant, but then at some point he hopes that he can just figure something out when it gets to that point. So, or just by pure luck, Sam is to just be able to do what he needs to do in this circumstance, or with the help of Al. So, Sam goes on to continue this training, and so we end up having Jake Edwards, who is to take Sam into his car, and it really feels that Sam is in really good shape, that it seems that Jake keeps hearing that Kid Cody is to want to go on and really like win this match, and Jake is like, well, I already told you, like, how many times do I have to tell you you're going to lose? Like, how many times do I have to state this? And so Sam is to go on and come up with a counter offer for Jake Edwards and state, like, well, wait a minute. Like, what if I can go on and put this match together and I can tell you what round the win is going to happen, the knockout is going to happen. And Jake is thinking about that. It's like, well, that might sound really appealing. So Sam is just like, well, okay then. But come to find out, it won't actually be Sam's match, it'll be another match. So I'm honestly thinking that that's a very slippery slope, because when all is said and done, we could go on to have Jake, who comes after Kid Cody again, and is to want to find out, like, what other, like, boxing matches do you know about, so to speak. So Sam goes on to go ahead and do this match. Hopefully everything by this point is to technically be covered between these two episodes, because I'm almost going to wrap this up hopefully soon here. So we have Sam that goes in this matchup, of course, against uh, the Tiger Joe Jackson. I don't think there was, with the opening fight sequence, there was any real name of that fighter, because that was to be done so briefly. Um, so that kind of sucks. But anyways, so we have Sam that goes on to try and fight this match, or this fight. So we go on to have Sam that is fighting this guy, and even at one point Al is to try as much as possible to tell him where to punch, where to go, and to where Al is kind of putting his hand through Tiger's face or Tiger's body to show Sam exactly where to punch, to the point if we were to go on and have Sam at some point in this match also have Dixie go on this streaking thing and run all the way around this boxing match to distract all the audience and even the other fighter, so that way Sam could punch out Tiger. Tiger ends up going down, but ends up getting back up, and so Sam is like, oh crap. So Al goes on and uses his hands to tell Sam where best to punch, and Sam ends up going on and taking out Tiger for the win, and Sam ends up falling over into his side of the ring, and he's like I'm done, like this is over. So we go on to have now Sam is in the back, and so Jake Edwards is to go on and come in there and tell Sam, it's like, well, hey, you didn't go down like I told you to. Because we even had at a point where Sam did go down in the first round, but he got back up. And we even had a moment where Sister Angela was realizing, oh my god, he's going to do what that guy wanted him to do. Because we had Sister Angela that had this envelope with $1,000 on it that Jake had delivered to Sister Angela, and Jake had told Sister Angela to, like, hey, he's going down in the first round. And Sister Angela is to state to Sam, it's like, well, like, I thought you were a good man, but now I find out that you're a cheat. And Sam is like, no, like, you heard wrong. Like, I am a good man, and I'm gonna go on and win this match. Like, not only like for me, but like I'm gonna do this for you. And so like we have this camaraderie between these two characters. So come to find out, when Sam is back in the back, we go on to have Sam that is to state to Jake that he knew how the George Foreman Muhammad Ali match was going to go down, and Jake ends up asking Sam, it's like, well, was that rigged? Like, did you know? And Sam is like, no, just call it luck. Just call it that I just figured it out. And Jake is like, ah. So come to find out, the bigger match that Jake ended up putting money on ended up working out. And so now Sam is like, well, like, but I also want a cut, which is to give us like $4,800. And we, of course, go on to have Roscoe, who is to go on and need to pay out that money, and I don't think Roscoe actually has it. We also had a moment where Roscoe was at Dixie and Sam's place, and Dixie needs to go and pay off Roscoe, and so she just tosses money at him. But when Dixie is to slam the door, it ends up breaking Roscoe's nose, it seems. But we don't get to see that, I think, in the later part of this episode, that his nose is broken. But so we have Sam that it's realized that he's going to be able to retire after all, that like his character is going to retire, that Sister Angela is to get her castle, and so Sister Angela runs back in the back to now talk to Sam and state that it's like, well, like there was a time that I almost like gave up on you, and I almost gave up on everything, but like you like renewed my faith, and so on and so forth. And so Sam was like, yeah, like we did it, and so on and so forth. So Sam ends up going on and leaping, and come to find out, he ends up going on to leap into a veterinarian. So we in this episode are to go on to find out that Sam leaps into a character. I'm gonna have to pause here for a second. Sam is to go on and leap into Dr. Daniel Young, who of course is to be this veterinarian who is going to have to turn around and become this cowboy, it seems, to win the heart of some woman. So we might have Sam need to go on and do rodeo, possibly? Is that going to be the next episode? Because that's what it sounds like. But from that, I think I'm going to go on and just get out of here. I realize how short that was. Plus, also, this thing bizarrely at certain points when you like kind of pause it or stop it or whatever, it just stops itself. So I'm going to have to go on and fuse this what minute clip with the other one. So with that said, I'm just going to go on and get out of here. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, everybody.